A local man tries to make knickknacks and toys for those in his community, but turns out anything that he makes, the opposite intentions of what he makes happens. Example, if he makes, let's say, a teddy bear that is meant to be cuddled and meant to be for someone to just, play with, well, that teddy bear turns into a grotesque monster that just wants to devour its owner. Or you have, let's say, shoes that is meant for dancing, while the shoes actually take control of the owner and start to force them to dance until they drop dead. Basically, these are some few examples of what this series has in store, but one thing in particular is puppets. And for instance, we have one of our main characters, Paris, that is a puppet given life. Now, obviously, I know many are going to make connections saying, so is this a Pinocchio type story? And it's a possibility it could go down that route. However, this is a much creepier series. There is a lot more going on, there's a lot of dark themes, and let's dive headfirst into it. So, puppets is something that absolutely scares me. Like, I'm gonna let you know something, guys. Like, I'm someone that isn't easily frightened. Like, I watch so many different horror movies. Like, I watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nightmare on Elm Street, I watch Scream, I watch, I'm just trying to think of here, Hellraiser. There's a lot of, let's just say, horror movies I watch. I watch a lot of slasher films. Nothing really scares me. However, there is one thing that does, and that is puppets or living dolls. And that's one of the reasons why I've never watched Chucky. I think everybody's probably heard of Chucky once or twice in their life, and I have never watched it. I've had nightmares about Chucky, etc. I have never watched that movie series because dolls and being alive just scare the crap out of me. And so, when I see a series about that, obviously it terrifies me, but it's very interesting, because I do love creepy horror stories, or stories that make me kind of jitter and be like, holy crap, that's scary, or whatever. I love that type of stuff, and so this series has that type of element to it. For instance, we have a character that is a living puppet that is kind of on the creepier side, and then you have other puppets that are alive as well on the creepy side. So it's kind of like, imagine Pinocchio or Chucky, pretty much. That's kind of what you can get from this series. That's what the Dummy's Dummy kind of is. But obviously, there's more to the story than that. So what is the Dummy's Dummy about, besides obviously the vague stuff I've talked about? Well, it's pretty much about this girl called Yumi that makes a very scary encounter with a teddy bear. This teddy bear obviously wants to kill her, and in her fright, trying to run away, she meets and encounters this puppet called Paris. This puppet, Paris, decides to help her out and puts away the teddy bear for good. For instance, just completely kills it off. And apparently, in the past, the creator of Paris and all these other objects, he didn't want any of them to be destroyed. So, for instance, despite how heinous the teddy bear was, or the shoes that will force you to continuously dance until you die, despite how heinous some of these creations were, the creator of these goods did not want to destroy these said individual goods that he has made. He wanted to keep them around for whatever reason. We don't know exactly what, but we can only assume from what we can gather is that he believed that just because they were evil, or just because they were doing the opposite of what he intended, doesn't mean that he wants to destroy them. Because at the end of the day, what you make is kind of like your children. It's kind of like when people make video games. Like, I think probably some of you have heard this before. When, you have a game studio, or you have these game creators come together and they make a game, it's basically their baby. They come in there and they make this whole new world, this whole story, these characters. It is their children. It's kind of like a manga creator or an anime writer or whatever. They create these stories, and it's their children. And I feel like that's probably what the creator views when it comes to creating these individual objects, that, these, like, toys, like this teddy bear, the shoes, etc., are just his children, and he feels like, despite them being evil, or, I guess dysfunctional, he doesn't want them to just cease to exist. That's my 2 cents on the matter, but obviously, let's get a little bit deeper. Apparently, Paris, our main, I guess, toy that is alive, is an individual that is bound by obedience. For instance, when it was made to be a grotesque monster, something that was evil, something that would just be very heinous. But because of the creator's overall ability, for instance, whatever he creates, the opposite happens to it, the overall toy is very benevolent, it's something that looks very human, even if in a creepy manner, and it is very obedient and wants to help out people. For instance, our main character, Yumi. And so that is kind of the main setup with the first part of the story, is that Paris and Yumi team up to, kind of figure out where all these other toys and inventions from the creator is from the past and get rid of them. So it's a typical adventure mystery thriller story with some horror elements thrown in, and I like that type of stuff because it's obviously like some murder mysteries happen sometimes where they're trying to figure out what happened to, let's say, a certain person disappearing, or, where is this object, trying to hunt it down. Stuff like that goes on within the story. So it is definitely an engaging story, and it has a very unique element to it because obviously, we don't really know exactly everything that this creator made. We don't know the exact number of all the inventions. For all we know, the creator could have made like only 100 inventions, he could have made 20, he could have made thousands. We don't really know. I'm going to assume, judging by the capabilities of the inventor though, and how he created like monsters, I doubt he made that many. He probably made about 50, maybe 100 different ones. Even then, that seems way too high for someone that has that type of ability, which that gets into the next point. Obviously, with these type of abilities, that means that this series is supernatural. I mean, go figure. I mean, we have walking, talking toys and stuff within this series, but we have our main female character, Yumi, that is capable of seeing ghosts. Now, this is something completely different than what we have going on throughout, let's say, the story. For instance, with, like, objects coming to life and having a different purpose, or the opposite purpose of what they were meant to have. Yumi sees ghosts, which, like I said, is a completely different element to what this story is, and it just now started to happen within the story, so it hasn't been, let's say, elaborated upon or explained to in depth yet, but I'm going to assume now, judging by the ability, maybe these individual objects or toys that were created, maybe their soul or these ghosts or whatever, these souls of these ghosts were shoved into them, which is how they were given life. That is my theory on the matter. I could be wrong, but that's what I believe is going on, is that these ghosts were shoved into these objects and they become very distorted and evil, and they have these heinous things that they want to do, or it's something else entirely and it's not even related to that. But whatever it may be, I am curious because the series has a lot going on. Even its art style is a very nice mix of cutesy and creepy. It reminds me a lot of, let's say, Everything is Fine that I talked about, many months ago, but in a more creepier style. Like, it's like a chibi style, and I like that. I really like the art style of this series. I know the art style isn't going to be for everyone, because, I mean, the chibi art style could be a turnoff for some, but if you could look past that, there is a lot to really love from the Dummy's Dummy. It's interesting, it's an engaging story, and always, I'm looking for new series to read and stuff, and always want to recommend to all of you guys, because there's a lot of good stories out there, a lot of, hidden gems, diamonds in the rough, etc., and I'm always seeking out engaging stories that really mix things up, and I feel like this is the type of story some of you might like. Like, if you like creepy stories, you like dark stories, you like stories that focus around maybe objects that were created that didn't, go and turn out to your intended purposes or whatever, you probably will like this. So, give it a shot if you are interested in actually reading the series. I'll have a link in the description if you actually want to read The Dummy's Dummy. Now, as for personal theories I have so far with, the series The Dummy's Dummy, I actually believe that the potential for this is super, super high, because for one, we have supernatural elements of objects and toys and different goods coming to life. For instance, we have a puppet coming to life, we have a teddy bear coming to life, and we have shoes basically having its own entity / will. So it isn't just exclusive to, let's say, dolls or something. You can have literally random objects like a mirror to maybe a hat to glasses, etc. that has the possible capabilities of doing some really heinous things. So the overall, I guess, flexibility that the writer has for The Dummy's Dummy in terms of, like, different mysteries and plot points is definitely huge. And I am very excited to see how, I guess, experimental, or I guess just how, crazy the writer can get with some of the themes within the story and some of the mysteries and twists because of what objects could actually come to life. That's just something I am very curious about. But one last thing though I want to say before I wrap up the video and all that. When it comes to the series though, it's very short. It's like 15 chapters right now, if you're not counting, let's say, Fast Pass, if you want to actually pay to read the chapters ahead. But overall, 15, chapters, it's a good little read, and it's definitely something that was fun, and I'm actually going to be keeping up with it, weekly now because of just how good it was. But yeah, once again, if you're interested in reading it, it's in the description below. It does help me out if you click the link as well. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching this video, tuning in, leaving a comment, etc. Tell me your thoughts on it. And yeah, I mean, we also have the new anime season starting soon, so let's get prepped for that. It's going to be a really good anime season. But okay, guys, be safe, stay healthy. If you enjoyed the video, leave me a like, subscribe, etc. And Chibi out.